and kitchens. I'm being joined by humanitarian activist Diana Benskin because, like I said, borders reopened over the weekend. But that has been, and that is after over a year and quite a few months of it being closed. They were closed in March of 2020. Good morning, Diana. Thank you so much for joining us.
Good morning. Let me say a pleasant good morning to you and your viewing audience, wherever you are in the world, and thanks for having me.
Of course. So, Diana, isn't it a good thing that our borders have reopened? That's a positive step.
Well, I would say that the situation has changed for the better in that they no longer, citizens of Trinidad and Tobago, no longer need to file for an exhaustive, a draconian exemption to return to the land of their birth. And I see patrons and citizens engaging in, buying one of their favorite foods, doubles and bacon shark, I hope. And my favorite recently, fruit smoothies and stuff. You got to stay healthy.
Yes.
So it's good to see people can earn a living.
So you were very active in helping people return home. If you don't mind me asking, where are you based right now?
I'm based in the USA.
Right. So of course, there was a lot of struggles, persons who, when the borders were closed, it was a surprise to a lot of people. So there were quite a few people who were actually en route to Trinidad and then discovered they could not make it to their final destination. There's been a lot of concerns with persons who remained in the States for an extended period. The States has a very restrictive visa process, and if you overstay, you can be penalized. Talk to us about some of your experiences to the last year that has led you to these, very specific concerns with the fact that the borders were closed and how it impacted you as an activist and what you saw the impact was on citizens who were left outside. Well,
the background that I come from, I cannot see a person in need and not respond. So I was called upon. I am a co-host of WZYE 95.9 FM, WZYE TV, and myself and Gary Mahabir and Anselm LeBon Wall Street and Tom Yespinette, we decided to get involved because citizens were crying out to us through social media. As of now, they're still stranded citizens. There, may not be as many, but they're still stranded citizens, and we're trying to assist them in getting plane tickets to get home, because when you lock them out, they run out of funds, they cannot work, they can't feed themselves, and their families back home cannot help them because the country was locked down too, and they weren't able to earn a living to assist them. So we became their safety net, and there was no grants, humanitarian grants put in place to assist these citizens.
Now, the government says that you could have reached out to your closest embassy or consulate for assistance. That has not been your experience?
I like the word you use, closed embassies.
Closest.
Yeah, closest. But take off the T and leave closed. Because, people were reaching out to the Ministry of Insecurity, and all they were getting were emails and stuff, and people in dire need. You don't want an email telling you, oh, we're going to get back to you, and you're in a file and you're waiting. People need assistance now. People went homeless. People went hungry. One young lady, she had a miscarriage at the airport trying to get home. Another one went homeless in the Bahamas. There's just a few of the severe cases of people trying to get back to their home, the land of their birth. You understand what I'm saying? This is the land of your birth. And as far as I know, Trinidad and Tobago was the only country that did this to their citizens. And you did this in an attempt to keep COVID out. But yet, in April, you had 169 deaths. Now in July, you're recording 900 plus deaths. What was the purpose of locking citizens out?
Well, it was to manage the rapid, spread of the virus. There's no question it would have spread quicker and faster and probably overwhelmed our healthcare system, which was really, really close a mere few weeks ago to being overwhelmed. Because, if we had reached a state, I mean, very early on in the pandemic, we saw bodies upon bodies being piled up in Italy, in Spain, in New York. We didn't reach that state here.
Being respectful, how? Yeah. You're having citizens come back home with a negative PCR test, putting them in quarantine. And then how are they bringing COVID in when you had the southern borders open and the Venezuelans coming in, now they're leaving? But you're blaming the citizens who are coming home negative.
Right.
I tend to disagree, but, respectfully.
No, fair enough. Now that the borders have been open and the government has instituted a new TT travel card, is that working? It's early days yet. The borders only opened a few days ago, but how is that working? Are you already getting concerns with the process, or is that, again, a second step in the right direction?
Well, while I congratulate them with the new requirements, you're going to have people that are not too technologically savvy, especially the elderly people. And also, too, I want to mention here, yes, all over the world, there are measures put in place to deter fraudulent immigration activity at a country's borders and at points of entries. But as a person who frequent my birthplace to participate in events and get a sea bath at my favorite beach in Trinidad and Tobago, Pigeon Point, I feel like I'm being buffed if I make a mistake on the form. I feel I'm being threatened with an exorbitant fine of $350,000 and 6 months in jail, and that's the point that you drove home at a press conference, right? You're not sounding too tourist-friendly here. You know what I mean? You're telling me, anybody, if you play the thing over and over, that's the point that I got from that press conference. If you're trying to increase tourism, language is you have to be careful with your language. I'm familiar with Trinidad and Tobago, so I'm going to pay particular attention to this form. Now, if I make a mistake, am I going to be penalized, and is it going to be perceived as though I'm trying to lie on this form, and am I going to be charged $350,000 and put in jail? So,
So Diana, what could be done better in your estimation? Especially, I mean, there's been this year you don't agree that the border should have been closed, and that's fair. Now that they've been reopened and they have the travel pass, what really should have been done better to make it smoother reopening and to redress some of the errors of the past?
A little more your tone, a little more friendly, a little more, perhaps you want to have a help kiosk, because here in the United States and other countries I've traveled in, you have help kiosks.
So the customer service is a bit lacking.
Yeah. You have help kiosk, or on the aircraft itself, you have an individual, am I filling this out? Is the form correct? So when you get that PR code, you're not boofed, or you're not, in danger of getting this 300.
And more assistance for different levels of abilities and connectivity and stuff like that. No, that's very fair. Now, I understand that you're also calling. We can't see the poster behind you properly because, television and cameras and stuff like that, but you are asking for the end of the state of emergency. Now, this is a public health state of emergency, and it's meant to limit movement, again, because we're trying to make the spread, slow the spread of COVID-19. Are you still calling for an end of the state of emergency, which is specific to Trinidad and Tobago?
While I'm calling for the end of the state of emergency, I'm also calling for the citizens to stop, that word, the scene. If the man is trying to, Dr. Keith Rowley is trying to curb the spread of COVID, you all need to adhere to the SOE, because I also follow the data where I see arrests for a mask, not wearing masks, arrests for breach of curfew, tickets or fines issued for these infractions. You see the Delta variant emerging. Now, we as a population, you have to do you have to do your part also, because it's proven that this disease is a deadly disease. So while I'm I'm an activist because people need to earn a living. I have found myself, I am WZYE 95.9, we are supporting people with a hamper drive. There are people reaching out to us on social media, and we've been supporting people with hampers, feeding families. One young lady reached out to me, one young man reached out to me, his daughter was experiencing gas pains, and he had no way to turn for food. So am I supposed to turn a blind ear and turn my heart hard as wax to my fellow man and not help this poor young man get food to put in his child's stomach? Because,
and of course, it's a hamper drive that you're recruiting for based in the U.S. for assistance here in Trinidad and Tobago.
Yeah, we put our resources together and we organize the hamper drive, and we get the logistics in Trinidad and Tobago and get it delivered to one point.
So the concern you have with the SOE is the fact that it's hampering people's ability to earn a living.
Yeah, and right. I'm asking kindly, Dr. Rowley.
But you do, and I just wanted to, just to qualify your question, so I just want to ask this. But the balance of lives versus livelihood is complicated. Again, yes, you're calling for it to help people earn a living, but how do we balance that right to earn a living with the fact that you could contract a virus if you're irresponsible in the execution of your employment and then end up seriously ill or otherwise?
And this is why I'm calling on the populace to be, to work with Dr. Rowley. Perhaps if he opens certain sectors of the economy, wear your mask, social distance, wash your hands, do not deceive, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
What is needed? And
I see you're quoting the Prime Minister in your exhortation. Diana Benskin, thank you so much for joining us this morning. We're definitely going to be touching base with you because, this is a difficult situation for all of us to navigate, and we're going to be bumping our heads, and we need to see where we're doing wrong, especially when you try to do something new. Thanks so much for joining us.
No problem. It's been nice being here.
Of course. All right, we're going to take a very quick break. And, like we said, we have a date with Doubles. We'll probably try and do that when we come back.